Hi, welcome back to the Learning Simplified series. Today we bring the series on understanding how an ATM transaction debits our account. So let's take an overview of the four main components which are involved in an ATM transaction. First, of course, is the core banking software where the customer accounts and their balances are housed. Secondly, of course, would be the ATM machine, the automated teller machine, from where the cash is dispensed. Third, and a very important component, is the ATM switch. Think of it as a software which routes the ATM transaction to the respective core banking software. Last but not the least is the gateway. Gateway is a software belonging to a network like Visa, MasterCard, Amex, RuPay, which routes the transaction to its member bank. So we'll see the functions of each of these in greater detail once we understand the transaction flow. This presents a simple high-level presentation of how the transaction flows. So imagine a customer walking into the ATM and withdrawing cash. The ATM sends a proprietary message to the switch. The switch, of course, belongs to the same bank as where the CBS belongs to. The switch in turn deciphers the proprietary message and converts it into an ISO 8583 standard message and routes that message to the core banking software. So ATM to switch is a proprietary language. The switch to the CBS database is a standard ISO protocol. So what exactly is this ISO protocol? It is a messaging protocol, an international standard for financial transactions by cards. There are 128 data elements in a message, which represents a transaction. While some of these data elements have a particular meaning and are standards, there are certain fields which are meant for implementation usage. These are transmitted over TCP/IP protocol. So there are mainly three kinds of transactions when you do an ATM transaction. Number one, of course, is the financial request, which could be a cash deposit or a cash withdrawal or a mini statement and so on. Secondly is the financial reversal. So we will soon see in which scenarios reversals are sent. Thirdly, are financial authorization requests, which is outside the purview of this tutorial. One thing to note is that every request sent by the switch has to be responded with a response message by the CBS. So a sample message would look something like this. So let's try to understand what those individual components of the message mean. Elements in the financial request. Field 2 signifies the card number which is masked. Yes, the card number is masked because the CBS doesn't require the card number for its processing. Field 3 is a processing code. It's a code which helps the CBS identify the kind of transaction. For example, 01 means withdrawal, 31 means enquiry, 21 means deposit, 40 means a funds transfer. Field 4 indicates the transaction amount. Field 49, the transaction currency. Field 7, the date and time. Field 37 is Retrieval Reference Number or RRN. It's an unique number which helps to uniquely identify the transaction. Field 41 is the terminal ID or an ID which is given to the terminal machine. Field 39 is something which the CBS responds back. It's a response code to indicate whether the transaction is successful or failed. 00 signifies it is a success, 06 a system error, 51 indicates insufficient funds. So this helps the ATM machine to display the appropriate message to the user. Field 54 is something which is used in response. It contains the balance of the account after the transaction. Remember that at the end of the transaction, you see your balance displayed in the ATM machine. So this is the field responsible which shows the machine, the balance of the account. And most importantly is field 102. Remember, the CBS doesn't need the account number, the card number. It requires the account number. So field 102 contains the account number to debit. In case it's a cash deposit, the account number is sent in field 103. In case of a funds transfer, both 102 and 103 are sent. 102 to debit and 103 to credit. So now we have seen all the data elements, are probably the most major ones in a financial request. So let's take an example of the switch sending a cash withdrawal message to the CBS. Field 2 contains, as we mentioned before, the card number which is masked. Field 301, which means it is a withdrawal. Field 4 has the amount. 49 is the currency code, which is an ISO standard. 840 in this case suggests USD or US dollar. Field 37 is the unique reference number or the RRN. Field 102 is the account number. So what happens when the CBS responds back? All the fields are responded back as it is. Field 2, 3, 4, 49, 37, 102, they are responded back as it is. In addition, field 39 and field 54 are two additional fields sent by the CBS. Field 3900 signifies a success, while field 54 is the balance of the account post the transaction. So what is a financial reversal? In some cases, the ATM needs to send a reversal message to the switch, and hence the switch has to send a reversal message to the CBS. So the scenario could be where the ATM fails to dispense the necessary cash because maybe the cash casket is got stuck or jammed. So in such case, a reversal message is sent. So the elements in a financial reversal are exactly the same, except an additional field called field 90. Field 90 contains the original reference number of the original transaction. That helps the CBS identify the original request which needs to be reversed. Now let's take a more complicated example of a customer of Bank B going into a Bank A ATM, which is probably a very common scenario. The Bank A, on getting the request, the Bank A ATM getting the request would obviously send this request to the Bank A switch. Now Bank A, on recognizing that this card doesn't belong to Bank A, it sends it to the network. The network could be a Visa or a Rupee network. The Visa switch then identifies that this card has been issued by Bank B, and it routes that request to Bank B. Bank B switch in turn sent it to Bank B, which treats it as a remote honors transaction. So such transactions are known as remote honors because the transaction originated not in Bank B's ATM but in some other bank's ATM. So you pass the required transaction or accounting entries, you debit the customer account and credit a parking GL. But Bank A in the meantime sends a copy of that message to Bank A as well, because Bank A also needs to credit the ATM cash GL because cash has been dispensed by its ATM. So in Bank A, the transaction is known as an off-us transaction. Now let's try to understand what is a stand-in transaction. So in many cases, the connection between Bank A switch and Bank A CBS breaks due to a telecom disruption. So in such cases, the Bank A authorizes on behalf of the CBS because it has got a copy of the balance within itself. However, obviously, these certain restrictions which apply in offline mode, as it is highly prone for fraud. So when the link comes up, the transaction gets flushed into the CBS and the account balance is debited or credited. So let's find out the main functions of the three main pillars. First is the ATM switch. It performs the message. It receives the message from the ATM and routes it to the CBS in the ISO format. It logs all transactions assist in reconciliation with the CBS. It maps the card number with the account number. Hence, request to CBS contains only the account number as we saw. It performs value-added functions like fraud detection, utility payments, and mobile top-ups. It performs standing transaction as we saw. Functions of the ATM are limited to be a card reader to decipher the card details, validating the PIN, communicating with the switch, storing and obviously dispensing of cash, probably the most vital function, and printing of the receipt. Functions of the CBS involve checking for the account balance before the debit, passing of the accounting entries for debit, credit, or transfers, and updating the account balance, deriving the charges if any, and performing miscellaneous activities like mini statement, capturing a checkbook request, and so on. So thus we have seen all the functions of the three main pillars of an ATM transaction. So do like, share, and subscribe for more such tutorials in the financial world. Thank you.